absolutely shocked that it worked the first time I started it up. It's just incredible. I'm really surprised that that happened. Um, so last things I had to do before I started it up were put the tune on, which they got back to me within a day, which was nice. And then check the oil in the supercharger as it was running. So we'll get to that in a second. So back at the front with the oil, once the tune is on, you should be good to start it. So do whatever checks you got to do, turn it on. Um, we primed the supercharger just fine. When we turned the car on and let it at idle, we actually weren't really seeing the level drop down. And we weren't seeing any return. I think it was priming though, it was really slow. Because once I went up to 2000 RPM, it actually caught prime really fast and suddenly all the oil went in. So the supercharger was okay, slow lubrication, but I had to turn the car off real fast and put more in. So make sure you have a buddy that's watching or you like overfill this one because like I said before, once I primed it from here to here, that's all well and good, but the whole return system and the cooler in here don't have oil. So I don't know about Rotex instructions. I would honestly overfill this just a bit, just to make sure you have oil running to it while it's idling and when you start to rev it. And then give it 2000 revs, watch it real close, and then fill it up as needed while you're doing your checks for oil leaks and all that, because it will go down eventually. When I first primed it, I think I used like maybe a quarter of the bottle to go from the reservoir at max to the supercharger. When I filled the rest of it up after all was said and done, it ended up being about 3/4 to 7/8 of the bottle, kind of like the active Autowerke instructions said. There were a couple issues running it, and I don't know if this is actually an issue with the car installation or what, so I gotta chase this down. We started it, we idled it, we revved it up to about 2000, that was all standing still, which was fine. It ran just fine. There wasn't any weird wobbling and idling. And when I revved it up, it was pretty smooth. When I first took it out to drive it, I started to back it out. We saw that my new tires were rubbing, so we stopped. I turned the car off, and then we started pushing it back in. And then something else came up. I don't remember what. So it stopped. We talked a little bit, and then I tried to start the car, and there was no. It seemed like there was no gas because the car would crank, and then it would die. So I tried it a couple times and I was like, oh, it didn't work. So I pushed it all the way back in. And then we tried it a few more times. It didn't work. I checked the fuel pump connections. They seemed to be okay. And then we went in and had a couple beers and we came back and I turned it back on and it started just fine, giving it a little gas. So I'm wondering if I had it sitting so long that the gas had like kind of vapored off and there were just air pockets. Because I had that issue when I was doing the fuel injectors, when I had waited a long time to do them. So I hit that little Schrader valve on the front and no fuel came out, it was just air. So I think that there must have been an air pocket of fuel, maybe, sitting somewhere in the system. But after it started up eventually, I took it around the block, it was okay. I gotta fix this isn't supercharger related, but the wheels are rubbing a lot. There's like pieces of tire on the ground, so I'll have to either roll or pull the fenders, but again, that's neither here nor there. But yeah, break it in for 65 miles, so I guess I'll do that and then I'll come back to y'all with the final impressions video. If y'all have any questions about the install, feel free to drop me a line. I'll try and help out. Overall, as an amateur mechanic, not too hard. A couple of little things with fitment, but I mean, if y'all are experienced at all working on cars, this should really be a breeze for those of you that have experience. So I guess I'll report back soon if the car doesn't burn itself down. Thanks for watching, y'all.